Today is day 6 of Lightroom tips for wedding and portrait photographers. If you haven't seen our previous videos, we're already going through some really cool things about Lightroom that will really help your workflow. So feel free to go back and look at those. But I am excited to talk to you about color grading in Lightroom today. My name is Claire. I am a wedding photographer and photo editor in the DC area, and I have been editing so many photos in the last decade. I've probably almost reached the million image mark at this point. So I wanted to share all of that information with you so that your workflow can be easier, you go through things quickly, and you can get back to shooting and spending time with your family. So color grading is actually a newer tool within Lightroom. It used to be split toning. So it used to be changing hues within shadows. It was like a slider like this, or within highlights, and it would be a slider like that. So with color grading, you actually have to go in the develop module here, scroll past the basic area, the tone curve, which we've already talked about in a previous video, HSL and color sliders, which can be used in a very similar way. And down here we have color grading. So you can go through and change things in the midtones, which on the histogram will show up kind of up here, shadows, which will show up down here, or highlights, which will show up over here. So the histogram kind of gives us an idea of where we're at while we are changing things in the color grading. So I think color grading really should only be used if you really need to neutralize a color that's terrible. I don't do color grading that much unless something is really horrendous. So maybe I use color grading 1% of the time, maybe 0.5% of the time. I really don't use this very often. So if you need permission to not use this very much, there's your permission. But if you want to know how to use it, why you use color grading, let's talk about it. So this is a really common problem I have. So let's just say our magenta on the tint scale is really high. That was a terrible way of saying that. But if our image is looking really magenta here, and I'm starting to see that magenta show up in the whites and the highlights, and I'm especially in this type of image, it's just showing up a lot in the background, in her dress, it's a very light image here. So if I wanted to neutralize that and I wanted things to look more like true to life, neutral, I would pull my highlight little circle guy here, and I would try to do something that is the opposite of the color I do not like. So let's say we don't want it to look magenta, we would rather it look green. So we can pull this over here in the highlights and pull it towards the green, and you'll see that the photo is becoming a lot more neutral. So I'm going to do Command Z to undo that just to show you. This is what it's looking like before. Command Shift C to undo my undo. And you'll see that it looks a lot more neutral because I use that color grading to do the opposite. So you can do that same method in the shadows, in the midtones, where if you're seeing something, or especially if people have really, really dark hair, sometimes depending on where they are, if they're amongst the trees and it's really like cloudy day, sometimes their hair can look kind of blue and that's just not how it looks in real life, then maybe you would want to go into, this is the shadows, yes, you'd want to go into the shadows panel here and you'd want to add a touch of warmth. Let's see what that does. A touch of warmth in this area here. I'm trying to do the opposite of blue. So in this orange area, to just bring some more warmth to their hair, that could be a reason to use color grading. Really, you're just trying to neutralize something that is causing a problem. So I really don't use color grading very much. You don't have to do that, but that is how you do it. If you want to use color grading, you can also make that a preset if you're noticing that some images just very commonly have problems in the shadow region. You can go over here and in the preset area and press the plus sign, create preset, and just click color grading. And maybe you want to keep these changes here as a, let's see, pink highlights, cool hair, color grading preset. You can do whatever you want. But that's what we tried to solve there with that color grading. So if that's just a really common problem for you, you can create that preset that is only doing the color grading. And I'm going to create that. And now in my 2023 region here, we have pink highlights, cool hair, and it will only change the color grading. So I hope that helps. You do not have to use color grading for every single image. You can use it as part of maybe like a preset that you're using, or if you're trying to just really solve an issue, it's helpful for that. But I don't use it all the time. You don't need to use it all the time. But if you happen to need it, that is how you do it. So let me know if you have a question about that below. Would be happy to answer it, and subscribe to our channel because we really have some helpful things for you coming in this series. And we would love to have you so that you can get all of the benefits of all of those videos. So I will see you in the next video, and I will talk to you soon.